We're here again. It's my favorite time of the month because there's that one time of the month that we don't want to talk about. Anyway, welcome everyone to Just Saying.
Yeah, number 4.
Ish. You're getting a 2 for this month because we had such a great interview in June, but we had some growing pains because our fabulous co-producer Pam Berrigan graduated from MediaTek and has flown the coop and has moved on to bigger and better things. So in the process, we kind of lost our editor and we had to do some arranging of things. But instead of like selling you short and not giving you that interview, we're going to attach it onto this one, even though the event has already happened and May is already gone.
May is gone.
We're going to let you just see this interview with Jessica
Jastrzebski.
Yes. And we hope that you enjoy it because she did the Best Gals Workshop.
Yes.
Which is something that we did in June here at Women in Film at AMP Studios.
It was fantastic. I was there. There were approximately 30 women from all over the state. We had people coming from Austin. We had people coming from Houston to work with Jessica and her amazing crew.
The pictures are so great.
Grips and DPs, and I mean, they were just so
we
amazing.
sold out. We had to wait. So we're going to have to do it again, is basically what that sounds like.
A full day of learning skills that will take you to the next level.
Yes. So we'd like to welcome Marcus Scott and his assistant Christopher Tatum to the team. They're going to be taking over from now until the end of the year.
I have to say, AKA Scrappy. Yes.
What up, Scrappy? How you doing? So we're back with our new production team, and we're going to talk about a little bit what we've done this month, and then we're going to have a wonderful interview with
Wendy Pennington.
Yes. So next, June was also Pride Month, and I usually love a Pride parade, but this year I wasn't able to go do anything super fun. What about you? How'd you celebrate?
Well, I have lots of people of whom I am very proud in my own life. My son and his husband in England, so I celebrate them.
Yay.
My brothers-in-law in Austin, I celebrate them. So I was full of pride all month long.
And who doesn't love to wear a rainbow? So we were also able to we were also able to celebrate Juneteenth, which is a very important date, and we celebrated by choosing the movie of the month to be The Daughters of the Dust by Julie Dash. We had a wonderful.
Was my choice.
Yes, it was your choice.
Research to find out about this woman who was the first Black female director to have her film distributed nationwide. 1991.
That's how long it took. There's something wrong with that. But she's done great things since too.
Yes.
And we're trying to get her to come speak with us women in film.
We have friends who have friends who are doing
Yes. So we had our last brunch at Chocolate Secrets in Oak Lawn. And if you show up the first time, you get a free chocolate or a free bonbon.
Yep.
And it was great. And it's also run by a woman of color. So we were able to support a woman's business here in Dallas. We want you guys to come out to our next movie brunch, which we'll talk about later. But let's get to the main attraction, shall we?
Let's meet Wendy Pennington.
Wendy Pennington. All right, here we are. We've got our friend with us today, Wendy Pennington. I can say her name and pronounce it without the help of Gail, which was not the case at the last podcast that we did. So welcome to Just Saying.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. It's taken a couple of weeks, but you are here.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yep. I'm so thrilled and honored to be here with you.
Oh, thank you. I was looking over the reason that we have you here today is because, man, your list of the things that you do, I mean, it's a lot. right? You wear a lot of hats.
Yes.
As many
and-
women in yes, and improv being one of them. Yes,
and
and so how do you keep those hats on your head without them tumbling all over the place and falling to the ground? And what is your favorite thing to do? And tell us about you. And Gail's gonna go like this in a minute, and then she's gonna ask some real questions so I can just ramble.
And thank you very much, David. So I want to say that I have known Wendy for many, many years in lots of different capacities. And I'm always interested in people's past, where you've been before you got here. And I found out in talking to you that you're from this area. So that's always really cool. You went away and you came back. So I want you to tell us about that, because there are a lot of stories there. But your present is really interesting, what's going on for you right now. But your future, to me, is even more exciting. So let's start with your roots. Okay,
Yes.
You're from here, and then at the young age of blah, 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 you took off. So tell us about that.
Yes. So I grew up in Mesquite, Texas.
Ooh.
So that's just outside.
Not a crime, okay?
Hey now.
Garland.
Okay.
Hey now.
But I can't say much for the
North
boys
Mesquite
I dated from
Stallions.
Mesquite.
Any
Oh,
of
we
my
might know
friends
some
from
people.
North Mesquite, Garland.
Yeah.
Just kidding. So I majored in theater at North Mesquite High School, and then I visited New York twice to see if I wanted to go to New York, and then I visited LA and knew for sure that I wanted to move out to Los Angeles, because since I was very little, I've been fascinated and somewhat obsessed with film. And that included Charlie Chaplin. I was that strange kid at 12, 13, 14 years old who knew Shakespeare and Charlie Chaplin. And
That is strange.
I just remember seeing him on television, and it really was just an aha moment in my spirit. And I moved out to LA at 19, 20.
Now, were you in school there, or did you just go?
So I was not in school. I did some Dallas Children's Theater here. I got an agent and I booked my first commercial here.
Here?
Yes, and I booked a part on Walker, Texas Ranger back then.
Ah,
That
yes.
was the
Yeah.
hook. Yeah.
Yes, and then I got met up with someone that I could roommate with in Los Angeles, and packed up my stuff and moved out there. My dad drove me out there, which was
Wow.
amazing.
Amazing,
Road trip
yeah.
with my dad.
That is a long road trip.
Oh yeah, and I remember it vividly. All these years later, there were so many wonderful moments about it. I was so excited, and
But as a parent, I'm terrified. This is my 20-year-old kid who's going out to LA
Right.
to live with some strange person by herself. I
Yes.
would be.
It's not like you can like come home for the
Whoa,
weekend
or
like
do your
I did in
laundry.
college.
Yeah,
Exactly.
moms, yeah.
right. I know, and it was very hard, and I feel
Wow.
really guilty that I did that to my parents. But they both were so on board.
Whoa.
They knew me well enough and had watched me grow up with all of this energy and all of this creativity. And
Were they creatives as well?
so my mom is very creative in the sense that she loves to make costumes, seamstress, that sort of stuff. Yes.
Dance
I'd be
recital costume.
very
And
good friends
she's
with her.
really into music, just has always
Oh.
played music, taught me music, loves music. And my dad was very much into photography, and he had created a dark room in our garage where
Oh, wow.
he developed his own pictures in the garage
Was
when
it,
I was
like,
a little
magical?
girl. It was awesome.
Yes.
I loved playing and all that stuff.
Right.
And I
What's
have
this
his
crazy
camera.
red light happening.
Yeah. Yes. And he had wanted to follow photography and didn't. And so
Mm.
they were very on board with helping me follow my dreams and desires and passion. And I got out there to LA, and it wasn't easy. I knew no one. It was a little frightening, but my personality is very, I love to meet people, especially
Mhm.
creative people. And which is part of why I'm so enjoying producing and directing. It turns out that ability way back then was in my LA networking right away. And I went to an open call that I found out at Backstage, which back then,
Was the
'cause this
place.
was 100 years ago. No, just kidding. there was an open call at NBC, and I went and sat outside all day waiting to get inside to audition for one of 12 roles on this little Saturday morning TV show called California Dreams. And I went in and did my audition, which involved some improv. And I'd had a little bit of improv training, but not the extent that I went to in the future. But I pulled out my improv skills, and I ended up booking one of those parts and got on that show, and we filmed in front of a live studio audience for 12 episodes, and that was amazing. And then after that, I just trained. I took all these great dramatic acting classes for 3 or 4 years before starting casting assisting. I got into casting assisting and was seeing that side of acting and the process of casting. And eventually I landed at the Groundlings, which is improv.
Oh my God.
Yeah, which was so much fun. And it's hard. It's so hard. You have to audition to get in, and then you get in, and like, wow, it's so great. And I was just like,
don't want to suck once you get in there, because that'd be bad for.
But there's so many amazing performers who've come through that program.
Did you work with any of them that we may know from your time?
Not at the time that I was there. I saw a couple of different perform on the weekends in the weekend shows. That's the main company. But I finished beginner. I went into intermediate, and in that intermediate process is where you also start gearing toward creating original characters and writing for them. And I was so immersed in that process, which turns out to be my screenwriting. And was told I had some talent in that area.
It was a little seed that got planted, and you watered it and watered it and watered it.
Yeah, but really it all blew up for me because the economy crashed, and that's how I ended up making the decision with my husband and my family to move back here to Dallas.
So you got married in LA?
Yes. He's from Long Beach, California.
All right. Is he in the business?
He was and wasn't. He sings. He's this amazing musician, and he's done sound on my films because he loves music and sound, and he loves that part of mixing and the computer stuff. And his band was on tour. They actually played the Lizard Lounge here in Dallas.
R.I.P. the Lizard Lounge. R.I.P.
God rest in peace, right? But he was in vocal jazz in high school, and they traveled overseas, and he's just very talented as a singer. And but he quit it all within a couple years of us meeting. He quit all of it because he decided he didn't want that life of touring, and
he just wanted to be with his little sweetheart, didn't he?
Well, he actually really loves the process of mixing, so it's fun to see that he's done sound on my films, and it's so good, and the sound mixing is so good. So, we'll see where that leads with him.
So back to Dallas, because the economy crashes, but there was something else going on in your life then too. Was there not, when you were coming back?
Yeah. My baby?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought there was a child.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was speaking about this recently with other actresses because, there is this idea that, you can't get pregnant, you can't have a baby. And I did quite a bit of national and commercials out in Los Angeles. I did quite a bit of voice work too, voice commercials, voiceover ADR on TV shows.
That's the best. I love them.
Oh, I do too. I did that at Disney Studios on a couple of TV shows. It was so wonderful. But I was surrounded, luckily, by this great group of women, both producing behind the camera or behind the microphones.
And what year was this?
This was 2005, 2006. And I was surrounded by a group of actresses that we always showed up to the same commercial audition together. So we just started being friends. We were like, well, if I don't get it, I really hope you get it. And we meant it. And because we knew each other for so long out there that we finally just started talking. And we all started reaching that age in our early 30s of like, should we have a baby now? And in 2007, I got pregnant. And so in 2008, when the economy was crashing, we had our son, June 12th, 2008, right as everything was starting to just, and we had a house in North Hollywood that we had bought. We had been there for a few years with really lovely neighbors, and all of my wonderful friends in Los Angeles. Most of them are still there, and I visit when I can, and I want them to come visit me here. But the decision was made that it would probably be best to get out of LA while everything was crashing and come here to Dallas. But I mostly wanted to come back here to be near my father. My father was suffering from emphysema, and he had come out to sit with me while I was going into labor. And it was very obvious to me that he didn't have much time left. And he had not been telling me that. So seeing it in person, we're all artists, we're all very in tune with such stuff. And so we came here. And for the first year that I was here, I was in full denial. I sat in, we rented like a townhome thing, and I just sat here like, what? And I flew back to LA 3 times to do the voice ADR jobs, and for several years actually I did that. And then I think it was within a year and a half, SAG-AFTRA had us do a local workshop here for a casting director who came to town, and she put us through some improv, and I got up on my feet and did my thing. And when the workshop was over, everyone surrounded me and said, "What was that? How do you do that? Can you teach us? Can you teach a workshop?" And I was teaching at the Dallas Children's Theater with my little boy because I wanted to be able to take him to things. And so he was this little tiny toddler with other little tiny toddlers. And I was just teaching for fun at the Dallas Children's Theater. And I taught my first improv workshop, and Improv Dallas was born. And as we do in improv, you say yes and add to it. And so I just kept doing that. I just kept saying yes, kept saying yes, kept saying yes.
So now that's grown into more than just an improv troupe. You do corporate stuff, but you've also produced some films that have come out of that. So tell us about that.
So about 2 or 3 years into teaching improv just for actors here locally, I got an improv troupe together out of it, and we did some live shows. And out of those live shows, I had a couple companies contact me because those people had been in the audience of our show, and we're like, "Hey, we have this event, and we thought you would be great entertainment for it." And I was like, "Yes, and so we were all like, "What?" And we did, and so we started these live corporate event performances that then turned into some leadership training for me. I started doing leadership workshops, teaching improv technique for leadership, for communication, and it's just been amazing. That part of the business has really kept me sustained. And then directing and teaching doing those shows really fine-tuned this director in me. And then
but wait, where's the actor? So where's the actor?
Oh my gosh. She's there leading. Yeah. So the improv troupe will tell you that I am most of the time I'm the straight man in every scene because I can constantly pull it back together. And I can drop into different characters and I can transition the scene from beginning to the middle and then turn it toward the ending and stuff. And
so that is the director too.
Yes, she's a combo, actress, director, now screenwriter, because I started writing skits for these shows.
And you'd already learned how to put a scene together, and then it was just putting
actress. I have read movie scripts for 25 years. I would read Shakespeare before I would read anything else. So I've always loved the full script, whether it be a play or a screenplay. I've been somewhat studying film.
Are you a critic? Are there things that you read and you go, "Oh, I could have done this so much better"?
So that's a great question, because my critic is always that one that I always think about the audience's experience. My focus is really to entertain the audience. So I watch stuff and go, "Oh, that probably pushed the audience just a little bit too far." Or, "Oh, you didn't give the audience a chance to think for themselves in that moment."
Right.
It's fascinating that's my critic,
Right.
And all the other critics that I see out there, the ones that make the news that we read are valid sometimes, but I don't pay a lot of attention to it. I let my critic push me to be a better artist and a better storyteller. And
I love that. So you've got this short film called service animal
Yes.
that was that grew out of this group. So
Yes.
talk about that, because that's gotten a lot of buzz. I've watched it. You've watched it, Tiffany.
Yes.
And it's just so charming. It pushes the audience a little bit.
Yes.
But never in a way that is offensive.
Yes.
But is very titillating. So
It's
tell us about this.
satire. Yes. It makes you think, because it has a woman as the lead, and she's older, and she brings a certain service animal to this flight and tries to board this flight. And it came about really so magically, because I'd been producing another film, Red Dots, that eventually got made, and it was falling apart. And so I knew we had an improv show coming up, and I emailed or texted my best buddy Stuart Glass, who's in the Improv Dallas troupe and great actor and great writer, and I asked him if he had any skits written for our upcoming shows. And he said, well, I was very frustrated at the airport the other day, and I wrote this. And he sent me this script, and it was supposed to be just a skit, and it was called Service Animal. And I read it and immediately knew where I want to shoot it, what the lighting, what the colors, what role I wanted to play. I wanted to absolutely be that flight attendant who's just like, you're doing what?
Now, can people see this anywhere?
Yes, it's on Vimeo under my Wendy Pennington Vimeo handle.
Please check it out. It's
Yes,
really
please
right.
do. I think it's actually, you can find the link on my website too, the wendypennington.net
Yes, you
website.
can. I just went there this morning.
Okay. Great, good.
And you can see red dots there too.
Yes, yes. So Service Animal is a hoot. I decided on a Saturday night that I would make it into a short film, and that following Friday is when I filmed it and shot it with a very small cast and crew. And I
So you shot for one day?
in
Wow.
4 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that happens when you all know what you're doing, right? Or
that
don't
was-
know what you're doing and you have a happy happenstance.
I really knew what I was doing. I really knew what I wanted, and I was very specific with everybody leading up to it in those days. And everybody on set will tell you that we would have filmed it in 2 hours if we didn't have trucks going by outside that we kept
Of
having to
course.
hold sound for.
That always
But
happens.
it was a great ensemble of people too, and you
Yes.
did a fantastic job of featuring them. Even
Thank
at the
you.
very end, each of them had a moment
Yes.
that was their particular take on the event.
Yes, I
and the
let them
service animal,
improv their lines
which
at the
was
end.
Very
Yes.
generous. Yeah. I
So
love
you
that.
Actor.
found this group. You found this group of people, not from the people that you knew before you moved to LA, but
Mhm.
through, you did know them from before.
No.
Oh,
I did
but
not
through
know
the
them.
SAG-AFTRA and
Yes.
meeting people that way in the
Yes.
workshops and
The
whatnot.
Dallas SAG-AFTRA
Because I'm
chapter.
sure our people would want to know, how do you get connected if you're moving back
Right.
from out of state
Yes.
into a new place, especially here in Dallas? How do you
Right.
find the right people and the right group of people to work with?
Right. Well, Women in Film Dallas is a
Did
great
you
place.
hear that, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
Oh, that was very good on your part. You just gotta sneak that in there.
You
That was
know,
great.
wasn't on my
about
list of questions to
Networking,
ask or
networking,
anything.
yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, if you're in the union as a SAG-AFTRA actor, definitely get in touch with the Dallas chapter,
Mhm.
because eventually now we will hopefully have things that we can meet up with again. The pandemic shut all
Right.
that down for a little bit, so I'm hoping that changes. And then
I love this whole movement from being, I'm an actor, I'm doing ADR, I'm doing voiceover work, I'm booking commercials. Oh my
and
God.
television
I'm-
and film.
Yeah, but now I'm going back home and none of that's there, and I have a baby now, and I'm
Yeah.
in Texas, and oh, I'm going to do improv, and now I'm going to direct, and
Yes.
I mean, this is an amazing
Journey.
reinvention of yourself. I just
Yeah.
love how you're cobbling together all these
Thank you.
things.
And
But-
how old is your son now, too?
He just turned 13.
So, yeah.
Wow.
I know it.
I just got a little goosebump.
Yeah.
I know.
But there's other stuff that you've done too, because you started shooting commercials.
Yes.
I mean, this is amazing to me. So how did that happen?
So last summer during the pandemic, I was contacted about the possibility of directing a commercial for a nationwide company. And
Not like Nationwide is on your side.
no. Actually, it was
Jingles work.
yes.
Maybe I need to take your improv class.
Yay! It's fun. I'll work you out though. I'm not the, I will
Okay.
definitely give you a good workout. The company called and asked if I would put together a pitch.
Now, how did they call you? Why did they call you?
So I did Service Animal and then did Red Dots, and Service Animal has made quite a few connections for me in that realm. It shows the satire. It won a couple of big film festival awards, and that put me in touch with somebody here in Dallas who then got this call about, do you know any filmmakers, directors who could do all this on their own? It's pandemic. We need somebody who has the
show, right?
Yeah, and I'm known for finishing what I start.
Oh, but the other thing that I love, and I wanted to say, she's known for her leadership and fun style.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, thanks, y'all. I like everybody to have fun. This is supposed to be fun.
It's supposed to be fun.
Creativity.
Yes.
So I put a pitch together, which was writing. I had to write a little bit of a story and a little bit of a storyboard to submit it to this company, and was one of the people in the running to make this spot for them, and got chosen. And then I had to do it. I had to film all of it on my own. I had to edit it, which I edited Service Animal together, so they knew it's basically that.
So you're picking
that's
up
basically like my resume.
Yes, I admire you for picking up the editing. Now, did you draw your own storyboards too?
A little bit, yes.
Had
It was really bad.
That before? Had you ever done storyboards before?
No,
So
and
this is
that
I
I am not
Brava.
good at
Yes,
that.
brava.
It's like sketch.
Yeah.
I need an
Stick
artist
figures, yeah.
for that. We need artists for that. There's people who are really good at storyboarding and artistry of it. And
Yes.
but I was on my own and really just put a few. So I got into this Sundance producing class.
Oh, here we go. Next level. This is moving into the future now. Here we go.
I got into
you just
that.
got into the Sundance thing. What was that about? How did you do that?
So I wrote a feature film screenplay that I finished
Your
last
first?
March. Yes. And with that screenplay, I got suggested to submit it to this Sundance producing class to get into the class. And
This is like Robert Redford's Sundance.
yeah. And I got in, and I had been taking the class a little bit when this commercial thing came my way, and they had been telling us about lookbook and pitch deck, and
Sure.
and with that you take pictures and you put the pictures in there. So with my storyboard, I did use a few pictures for the company to send them. I mean, it was. I know that I'll look at that 10 years from now and be like, they said yes to that, but it was the story. It's always the story. And I went and shot. I actually went to Lowe's and went in their garden center and took my iPhone and was filming, and I put it on a shopping cart, so I had a moving.
I love that story.
This is great.
As I hit my microphone, sorry.
Because a lot of times if you walk in with a big giant camera, they're like, "What are you doing
Yes.
here? Get out!"
I filmed nothing that said Lowe's. It was just all about their beautiful plants, and I bought the ones that I filmed.
Bless your heart.
Karma.
That's like some good,
Cost some money to make this.
good Samaritan of you. And now you have something that grows, hopefully, in your garden.
Yes, they're both still alive. The two big plants are still
I like
alive.
that story.
The little
too.
ones, not
Back
so
to
much.
Sundance. So
Yes.
this is-
Yes. So the Sundance producing class, it was a 9-week class on Zoom. We met every week, and it really took us from pre-production to production to post-production to then film festival and pitching it for distribution and film buyers, the sales agents, the whole thing. And I'm still overwhelmed by it. I still go back to all my notes on it and am just trying to learn everything I can, and it's going to take years. And like everything in this business, it takes practice. So I've been trying to put it into practice, and that's how the feature film is going. It's still in the pre-phase of financing and then pre-production and such. So and meanwhile, I was looking into how can I practice this? How can I practice producing? How can I, put something together quickly? And I had someone contact me in January of this year, 2021, and ask me to film a scene for their son for their demo reel. And I was like, well, I don't really do that anymore. I'm making films, and if you're interested in that I'd love to talk to you about that. And she did. And so we talked about it, and I was like, well, let me see if I can actually write something. And I went walking around the neighborhood, and I'd just gotten off social media where I saw somebody post some fake news thing that's just ridiculous, that I just can't believe people are buying, and buyer beware.
Right.
I was brought up as buyer beware, what you are told and listen to and buy, everything. That was the American way.
The American way, yeah.
It's just a new generation, a couple of them that we've got to teach them of like, hey. And so I went around the neighborhood just so frustrated of, wow, this is out of control. Social media is really pervasive. And F News was born. And I went home and I wrote this little script, and it's satire again. And the boy is a teenager. He's a great actor. So I was able to put him as the lead, and he's in his neighborhood. And I don't want to tell you much more because it's in film festivals right now.
No spoiler alert.
All right.
But producing it in the middle of coronavirus, I was like very low, little budget, but I had enough budget to reach out to my favorite director of photography, Tom Moore, and ask him, what do you think? Do you think we can do this? I've got to film it all outside in one day. My husband will do sound. And I think I know a couple actors who are okay with filming outside right now during a pandemic. And I have enough for a few other crew members. And he loved it, loved the script, loved the idea. And I started telling him, the different types of shots that I wanted, the style that I wanted to go about with it. And he was loving it. He loves comedy too. And 2 weeks later, we were in a neighborhood up in Frisco, and the neighbors signed releases for us to use their houses.
Oh, that's awesome.
Fabulous. So I got to produce every inch of it. Every inch of it I got to use that Sundance producing.
Right. Yeah.
And I was just all over it and filmed it in 6 hours.
Wow.
That's
All
incredible.
And then I went home and got all Tom's footage. He's a magician if you let him rent the lenses. And we had an assistant cameraman, and so we had all this extra wonderful stuff. And I'm a simple editor right now. I can edit Service Animal and the commercial, a 30-second commercial. But F News was, I needed a visual effect, and I don't know how to do that at all. I know what I wanted, but I don't know how to do it. And I emailed Tom and was like, hey, buddy, you're amazing. This footage is amazing, but I'm so overwhelmed. I have no idea how to edit this together. What do I do? And he's like, well, I'll edit it. I'm still sitting home and doing nothing. And so we paid him for editing, and he edited it, and we got nominated at the Portland Comedy Film Festival for Best Editing.
Good. Yay.
Just 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
That is awesome.
So great. It's such a victory, because you look at the Portland Comedy Film Festival and there's so many films. There was so many.
How many are we talking? Like over 300, 500, 1,000?
I was going to say like 50, 60.
Oh.
But that's a lot when 5 are nominated for Best Editing and we get in there,
Absolutely.
Because the films that got nominated for Best Film, you can tell they have like $10,000, $15,000. They made their film in 2019 indoors, and
without before masks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before. I like that term. It's just going to be before and now after.
I know.
Yeah, we're in the after.
So now things are really developing. You've got those projects behind you, and you're moving ahead with this feature-length film.
Yes.
That you really are planning to get
Yes.
into production in the next several months.
Yes.
Which I just think is amazing.
And it's scary. It's not comedy.
Do you have a big crew, or how is it?
So far, I am in meetings with producers. So I'm at that phase where we're just doing meetings and seeing who really is the right fit to help me move it forward into pre-production. I have a first AD in mind. I actually have 2 of them. And so, their schedules are going to be a factor of whether they're available or not. And so everything just moves forward very slowly. You have to have a lot of patience in this business as an actor, as a director, as an editor, as a producer. You have to have a lot of patience. But I do something every day. Every day I do at least one thing. Ava DuVernay is great about that on Instagram. She's great about reminding us every day, do something that moves your project forward. And I was telling Gail earlier that I got feedback recently that the screenplay is locked to not touch it, not change a thing about it. And so the screenplay is one of those things I can't open up on my computer because I'll
start futzing with it. Right?
Yes. So it's scary. And it came to me in an improv. I was teaching an advanced improv class in Dallas at Improv Dallas, and they're my best group of people. So we were just being so creative and just on fire. And I had this awful image, awful, scary idea. And I love suspense. One of my favorite films is Signs because it's so simple but so suspenseful and frightening. The idea of that movie is frightening. The idea of
is that the one where they make the crop circles and they leave the signs?
Yes.
That freaks me out too, I've got to say.
There's a moment where Mel Gibson looks out the window and you can see in his face that he's seeing ships of aliens or something. And he just backs away from that window and shuts the window and
fight or flight. I'm out of here, man.
And I get so frustrated that the camera's not turned around and shows what's in the sky, but it's brilliant because we have to, the audience has to think like, what would I do? And
there's that, but there's also, how would you ever afford to create those aliens?
Exactly.
That's right.
Right. So now as a producer.
Right.
Yes. You see their budget constraints and all that.
Yes. Locations, actors, crew. Like if you get a great location in Texas is so gigantic.
It's huge.
That there's a certain location I was looking into, and the film commissioner was like, well, I just want to remind you that crew would all have to travel there. So then you're looking at hotel and housing crew and actors for 6-7 weeks. So it's like, so we need another $1 million?
No problem. We'll just make some phone calls. No big deal.
So, send them my way. But it is low budget. And I know that I'm already creating my director notebook so that on the days of shooting, everything is
very efficient.
Yes. And I can improvise in the moment if I need to. I love that about improv with filmmaking is that you actually need it. When things don't work out, when a thunderstorm comes over, when it's supposed to be bright and sunny, to make that adjustment of like, well, then how can we use the day? How can we use who's here? And all of those decisions are made so quickly. And improv has helped me just think on my feet and the most I think creative.
Everyone should take an improv class.
Yes.
Just to get through life.
Yes, it makes it so much more fun. It really does. I have people take improv that are not actors and they come back over and over because it really does. It relieves stress. It relieves anxiety. It makes relationships more enjoyable of listening and responding deeper. And
so at some point in the future, after your film is in the can, we should do a Women in Film
improv.
Yeah. And with an eye to how do you take those skills and use them no matter what your area is.
Absolutely.
This would be fantastic.
We're very inspired by you, Wendy.
Yay! Good. I'm inspired by you.
Continued to grow your life.
That's
what's so amazing.
I'm tenacious. People say that about me a lot.
Okay, so what is your sign? We were talking about signs before the camera started rolling.
I'm a Sagittarian. So I pull my bow and arrow. Yeah. I point directly at something and then fly toward it. Yeah. Finish it up and then point an arrow this way. I'm a Sagittarian.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, keep shooting your arrows because
thank you.
You've got a lot of things left in your quiver yet.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what
true story.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just kind of speechless. Like, you know, everybody check out Wendy Pennington's work. Talk to us about where they can find you and how they can look up all the things that you've done.
The best way is my website. It's just simple, wendypennington.net. And then
PENNINGTON.
Yes.
So much easier than other names we've had.
And WENDY
Not I.
Pennington. If you Google, the Improv Dallas stuff comes up, and hopefully my Vimeo channel comes up.
Yes, you're all over the place.
Yeah, it's there.
And the pictures are great of you.
Because
So
that's your resume. As people in this business, you have to have some sort of moving resume out there.
Yep.
And that's,
I really enjoyed your site too. It's like there you are standing there, and then there's things you could go to, and then there's just this lovely little wording right down the center. And yeah, it's beautiful.
Great.
It's very artistic. Yeah, it's very artistic, and I enjoyed it.
I have that Wix website creator, and it's one of those things. If I get creatively frustrated, I can't touch my screenplay, so I'll sign on to the website and play around on it.
Yes.
I have to do something every day that's creative, or I
get cranky.
Yeah. It's not fun.
Well, you start being afraid too. Was I ever creative? Can I ever be creative again? But when you're in the habit of doing it,
yes,
it's like, yep, that's who I am.
Yes.
Words to Live by Wendy Pennington. Well, thank you so much, Wendy. Gail, you got anything else for her?
Thank you.
No, I'm just so glad you were here.
I know. I love you so much.
I know. I can't wait to be as in love with you as you and Gail are with each other.
I love you,
because
Tiffany, and I just met her.
I know. I think
Because
it's
we have done a 48-hour.
Yes.
That'll
film.
definitely get you
thing
close
together.
to
I was your
people.
mom.
Yeah. Yes. And
right.
and I co-wrote that. That was my very
Yes.
first time to write a film. Was the 48-hour film race, and
Right.
it was Something Borrowed, Someone Blue, and she plays my mom. And when we wrote it on Friday night, I said, "Who do you have available?" And they said Gail Cronauer, and I was like, and then it did so well. We won the 48-hour film race, and we went to Paris, France with that. And that was the first time as a writer that I went, hey, people like my storytelling for real. Okay, I'm gonna continue doing this.
Well, we'll be on the lookout for Wendy Pennington. Thank you guys, and we'll be right back to get us out of here and tell you what's coming up in the rest of the month for Women in Film Dallas.
Yes. Yay! Come see us.
Okay.
Here we go. Oh,
Wow.
she's so inspiring.
Her energy, though, and as I was saying to her after we cut, for her to be able to speak about herself and the accomplishments that she's had and be so charming and warm and not be, arrogant and a braggart and all these egos that we deal with, especially in our industry, was just really lovely.
Her smile is genuine.
It is so true. It is so true. Very authentic. We thank her very much for joining us, and I wonder who we're going to have next month. We don't know yet. You'll have to wait and see. But we do want to talk about a couple of things that are happening. I have solicited some help as far as planning our social engagements, and I would like to welcome aboard the new committee that we have created called the Real Social Whiffs of Dallas. Not the Real Housewives, the Real Social Whiffs of Dallas. Zalika, Z-Star, Lindsay, and Nitzia are going to help me plan wonderful, fun events for you and us all to enjoy. So let me just go over what we have coming up. June 30th, we have Halcyon as our last women's workup of June before we move into July. July 12th will be our monthly meeting. This is a change. We would do it on the 5th, but it's a holiday weekend. So we're going to switch it to the second Monday just for the month of July. We've got 2 workups in July coming. We also have a new mixer coming up. It's the birthday mixer.
Who could that be?
And it happens to be on July 22nd, which is somebody's birthday. So basically, I'm inviting you all to my birthday party, which will also happens to be on a Women in Film event day. So let's all get together. It'll be indoor, outdoor. So if you're still not
Great.
feeling great about getting in close quarters, we'll have patio space and room for everybody to mingle. We want to see you there. And then also keep looking for our members only brunch club. And in July, we'll be announcing our next movie of the month and a place to be determined.
And I have one more thing that I
Yes.
want to say.
Do it, Gail.
We had an amazing event a week or so ago. WIFD US, Women in Film Television US, of which Women in Film Dallas is part of that fold.
And Gail is our liaison.
And I attend those meetings and as many of those events as I can. And I reached out to Katie Drake Bettner. Katie, former student of mine. She lives in McKinney, Texas. And she has been producing films for the past X number of years. And she did an amazing conversation with us about what it is to be a producer. You are the mom of the production, but she had some amazing resources for us. And I would love for you, if you are interested in producing and figuring out how to get into that, to check out that interview. It is being recorded and it will be posted on the WIFD US website. So check that out. Katie Drake Bettner.
And from Just Saying, bye-bye. We're out of here. We'll see you next time.
Have a great 4th of July.